People who aren't afraid to get dirty.
His heart stopped.
I was cooked from the inside out.
People don't survive this type of injury.
6,800 volts. He was dead.
I was dead.
Patrick Mitten is excited about his new job at an electric company. Little does he know that on just his second day, he will die.
My name is Patrick S. Mitten. I was a laborer for the gas and electric company. Typically in the morning, the foreman or operator would come out and there would be a brief safety meeting.
You'd say, this is what we're going to do, and this pad goes over here, and that transformer goes on top, you know. Just don't do anything dumb, or if you see anything, say something and we'll stop.
The crew installs a new fuse cabinet. This job site requires extra caution. It's next to major power lines, carrying 6 million volts of electricity.
This was my second day working with a small crane. John was under the impression I was more experienced in that position. John was lifting the crane. As it came up near the power line, I remember watching overhead, thinking, well, this can't be good.
Patrick decides not to stop the lift. This choice will end his life. As he guides the new fuse cabinet into position, supportive steel cables swing dangerously close to power lines.
That's it, a little more.
When I heard the sound, I knew that it must have been in contact with the metal.
The electricity enters Patrick's hand, melting everything in its way and stopping his heart before it exits his foot. Over 6,000 volts of electricity surged through Patrick's body. It only takes 100 to kill a man.
When Patrick was shocked, his heart stopped immediately. It's like a fuse blowing out.
For a split second, I felt like water flowing through my body.
Patrick was shocked in his left hand that electricity went through his body and out his left foot.
When you suddenly get this huge surge of electricity that comes from outside that electrocutes you, it also transmits through all the circuits in your body. All your muscles go into a state of spasm because the nerves are overwhelmed with this electricity. Such a high voltage will actually cause the nerves to become damaged.
The electrical current forces Patrick's muscles to violently contract, launching him into the air. He lands over 20 feet away. Patrick was dead before he even hit the ground.
It was almost like my life played out in front of me. It was pretty much like when you're trying to fast forward a VHS tape, it was played back at such a speed. What I was seeing was images of my family. There were images of my friends, seeing my pets, good sunsets.
What he had is what we call a life review, a complete recollection of everything that's happened from early childhood up to that point.
The light above my head was way off in the distance, and it was very calm. I had no sense of time passing whatsoever. It's a strange feeling. It felt so good, it really didn't matter. It's really difficult to explain other than to say it was really comfortable. I really slid away.
People find it very difficult sometimes to be able to describe what they've seen. They sort of say, like, there are no words to describe the feelings that I had. I just They don't exist in the language that we have. Actually, this phenomena, this experience is not new. In fact, it's been described thousands of years ago. The earliest recordings are from Plato's Republic. Plato believed that the human psyche or the soul was something separate from the body.
There's obviously death, but there's an in-between too.
I had never seen anyone electrocuted before. I don't ever want to see a coworker get injured. When I checked and saw that he had no vital signs, I knew Patrick was dead.
If you're shocked by a household appliance, it may hurt, but you live. People who are shocked with the massive amount of electricity that Patrick received die instantly.
The heart itself is like a very delicate electrical circuit. So if you have a huge surge of electricity that affects your body, it also completely damages that circuit, and therefore the heart stops.
At that moment, I was trained to go right into CPR mode. Check for breath and did check for a pulse. Because he had neither, I was sure he was dead.
A stopped heart cannot be restarted by an electric pulse. CPR is crucial to stimulate the muscle into a rhythm that can then be shocked.
What CPR did was essentially take over what our heart does, which is pump oxygenated blood to the rest of the body.
One of the key factors to being able to ensure that someone who's died can be brought back to life successfully is the speed of onset of the resuscitation that takes place. If the cells are starved of oxygen for a prolonged period of time, the damage becomes so extensive that even if you do give oxygen back to them, they'll never be able to function again. So it's permanent, irreversible death.
I was working on Patrick for like a half hour. Patrick did not respond to any CPR.
30 minutes later, paramedics arrive on the scene. At this point, the only thing that can save Patrick is another shock to the heart.
It takes only a few hundred volts of energy to restart the heart. It's a very small amount compared to the amount of shock that he received earlier.
The electricity goes straight to Patrick's heart, shocking it into rhythm. Patrick's heart is beating again, but the medical team must tend to the extensive internal damage caused by the electrical shock.
While I was dead, when I was presented with the question, you have the chance, Patrick, to go to heaven, or you have the chance to go back to your family. I'm not sure who. It had to have been God. I'm not sure who it was. I don't know how I heard it. You know, I mean, to this day, it doesn't make sense. I was able to make a decision. I wanted to go back to my family.
Sometimes people have a sensation where they feel that they have unfinished things to do. That thought is enough to bring them back to life again.
When I woke up, I'm secured to a bed. My left hand is taped to the railing. It was a horrible smell, burnt skin. It's like I was in a microwave. I was cooked from the inside out. It smelled like death.
Patrick had some burns on his hand and his feet, which were actually very small compared to the level of damage that was happening internally. Electricity actually causes the muscles to liquefy and break down and release toxins into the bloodstream that can block the kidney and actually cause it to fail. People don't survive this type of injury. The mortality rate is virtually 100%. It's amazing that Patrick survived.
3 days later, Patrick is able to leave the hospital, but scar tissue from his healing organs continues to accumulate and must be surgically removed every few years.
Even when patients like Patrick survive, they're never the same. It permanently changes the brain.
I have different mannerisms and I guess I have some problems with my memory that, are related to that accident. To say they're problems is really minor.
There have been many studies now that have demonstrated very clearly that people who've had a near-death experience, they become transformed in a very positive manner. So that classically they become less afraid of death, less materialistic, more helpful to others, more altruistic. And they live much happier lives as a consequence of their experience.
I've heard a variety of theories about why I didn't die. Doctors will say it's science. Other people will say it was CPR. I tend to think it was God. End of story.